Breaking Film Industry Norms by Andrew E. Movies are such a commonly consumed media that it begs the question, how can the film industry strive for originality? For some background, every year, massive studios release sequels, prequels, and remakes to their franchises in order to make money. Movies are an artistic form of entertainment, and it is essential that they strive to portray something new and original. Here I have some examples of films that have been part of a franchise for decades and still get new movies today to keep making this money. So, independent films can serve as a possible solution to the issue at hand. These movies can have a lot more original ideas in them because they have to in order to stand a chance at being successful. Some may vary in quality, but there is definitely a larger quantity of them. Now, that being said, independent films have a lot of roadblocks in their way if they want to become the new norm. To start, it is harder to find them showing in theaters, and they also have a lot smaller advertising budgets compared to bigger studios. Most importantly, sometimes they do not even gain popularity until years later, in which they become a cult-followed movie. Filmmakers need to push themselves in order to release something successful to be able to move on to bigger things. This can connect to the story Through the Tunnel by Doris Lessing. The boy in the story had to keep on pushing himself so that he'd be able to go through the underwater tunnel and achieve the success he wanted to achieve. This is similar to the filmmakers who must go up against major studios who have way more resources, but they must push through it anyways. To look at a specific director who had to go through this, a good example would be Christopher Nolan. He's a critically acclaimed director who started out in indie filmmaking. He got his big break with the success of his second film titled Memento. He then got to work with major studios and make many well-known films like the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, and Oppenheimer. Because the studios trust his talent, he can have a lot of creative freedom on these movies, allowing for him to pursue his own ideas. Nolan is not the only director in this position of having a lot of creative freedoms, but yet the issue still persists, because this only serves as a portion of the industry. The problem is that these independent films still need to be more publicly accessible in order for these directors to be put out there more. Not every director has a success story like Christopher Nolan. This is why these directors' works need to be more accessible and known. This can be helped by publishing companies like A24, who can help these films be better known to the public like it was a regular studio movie. According to Ryan Briggs, who has an MA in Media Studies, A24 proved not only that it is possible to exist within the sector as a standalone, but that with the strategy of keeping costs low through web-based marketing and cultivating a loyal cohort of youth and cinephile audiences. This smart marketing could also be helped by further funding it so it can be made more accessible to even more audiences. By having a market that has a lot more independent and original films, we can make a change. Audiences will see these movies, and this can result in bigger studios noticing more and more talented filmmakers and hire them in order to give them bigger budgets and more creative freedom. This will also cause the amount of sequels and remakes to lessen over time because there would be less demand due to the sheer amount of content. A good question to point out would be, if sequels were the issue, then why are they so popular? Well, sequels themselves are not the problem, but all the unneeded sequels made only for profit are the issue. They have less originality because there's no good motivation to create them in the first place. They are always going to be more popular because of the reach they have due to better marketing and budget. With this solution, it offers the opportunity for the industry to grow as a whole and have more originality. This still requires independent filmmakers to be able to go against these norms. And instead of just working for large studios, they must risk everything in order to push originality. According to the Moral Courage and Intellectual Disobedience article by Ted Thomas and Ira Shalev, it requires moral courage of the leadership to step forward, risking loss of job and status by going against the culture. By boosting these people up with advertising and budget, it can allow for their work to reach more audiences and teach studios.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, how did you approach and synthesize the different perspectives that you brought in order to reach a conclusion?
Originally, I looked at it a lot more from an audience's perspective, but then it's harder to do because it's such a subjective genre that you can't just look at reviews for this because everything is going to be different. So I decided to look at how could it affect the industry as a whole.
Okay. And then, were there other questions that emerged as you were doing your research, and why do you think those questions are important?
I just wondered how successful this could actually be, because there's a chance this is super successful and it works very well, and a lot of these unoriginal movies are pushed out, but then there's also a chance that it doesn't do anything and that these independent films are still born.
Okay, thank you.